But yeah, hello everyone. Hope you're doing well. Hope you're looking after yourselves. Welcome back to another episode of the Hustle Chronicles, where we dive into the interesting world of entrepreneurship and business. Whether you are a freelancer, whether you are a first time, starting your company in the early stages, or whether you've been within the world of entrepreneurship for some time and you are looking to try something new. We've spoken to a lot of cool people. We've learned about many different businesses, and yes, we're actually, funnily enough, coming back to the starting point of this, where we're going to bring on some of our earlier guests on to sort of see how their businesses have progressed over the last 6 months to even a year. So keep an eye on the space. Those will be coming in the next coming months. But I always say we bring on the cool people. I don't want to tell you about today's guest because I think he will tell you the amazing work he's doing, because it is amazing work. But yes, I don't want to read out his description. Instead, I want us to hear from him. So I'm going to hand over to Daniel. Daniel, how are you doing today? Could we please know a bit more about you, your business, and what you do?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you. Thanks for having me on the podcast.
Oh, thank you.
Daniel. Some people call me Dan. I'm kind of like that's what it is now. I'm the founder of Talk to Dan. What we do, we bridge the gap between employers, young creatives, and we work with young people, predominantly for 16, 25-year-olds. So being able to work with those sort of young people that are sort of just getting into the media industry, starting their careers, wanting to find, sort of a direction, into the actual creative world. So we work with young people that are coming from school, from uni, from college. Some are just starting out. What we do, we work on their soft skills. We like to call it the pain points. Okay. Things such as, CV writing, how to network, how to freelance, how to build your online presence, to how to even price yourself in the market. All of these courses that we're actually creating right now for those young people that want to get into industry. And then we also work on the recruitment side, where we actually get those young people into work. So actually working with them to become work ready through those courses, and then getting to the next stage to actually work as a runner. Someone that's going to be on set, someone that could work as a graphic designer from home, for example. So, but it's really very versatile. And ideally, what Talk to Dan is a media agency, which we've been able to look at the recruitment side and the consultancy side. So but it wasn't that when it first started, This is something that probably we'll get into more a bit later. Yeah.
Oh man, that's really great. And I think the soundboard's working. But yeah, I think a round of applause is deserved, man, because I know, especially as being a young person, but also from, funnily enough, my old job was similar to that, helping uni students with CVs and cover letter prep. And it's not an easy work. A lot of students don't, especially if this is like their first job, like whether it's while they're at uni or while they're just about to leave, they're just about to graduate, not knowing about like what goes into a good CV, what goes into a good cover letter. Even like I've seen from, following you guys, you guys post job opportunities, you show programs that people can get involved in to develop themselves. So yeah, man, you're doing really great work. So thank you so much. Thank you.
Yeah. To talk more about that, about the CV stuff, this is a pain point that young people are going through from all walks of life. And some are coming from Manchester, some are coming from Leeds, some are in London, some are from abroad, and the pain point ideally is that a lot of young people don't know how to write their profile, their CV, they don't know how to stand out. You saying that you're highly motivated, you saying that you're a determined individual, you saying that you're dependable, flexible. Everyone's heard that before. Well, all employers have heard that before, and that's the thing. I've been that person there saying those things. So I'm putting myself in the young person's shoes. One of our, our values is empathy, putting ourselves in the young person's shoes. And kind of also one of our values is relatable. So actually being able to see exactly what that young person is going through. Our team is very young. So those issues that those young people go through, we're able to allow them to overcome those issues of actually, they're trying to write their CV, write a profile, and show how to stand out. So, what kind of got you into the film industry? What got you to be someone that wants to get into graphic design? Did you pick up a leaflet and, that was your first ever sort of like, you kind of realized this is why I want to do graphic design. You kind of got exposed to a certain campaign or an event. So you kind of let young people tap into the stories that show who they really are, as opposed to that robotic approach. And then the jobs opportunities, like I said, if you go on our Instagram, you will see the highlights. It's all color coded. And big shout out to Max, man. Max was our previous marketing assistant, and he came in to Talk to Dan, and he really just changed the whole just the whole look of Talk to Dan in terms of like how we can actually target young people. So now when young people go on the Instagram, they see that, a graphic design job is green, for example, and a TV and film job is purple. I'm hoping getting the colours right. A sports job is orange. Yeah. I know at the top of my head, but like, you'll go on our Instagram and you'll see sports job and it has like the number 2 here, and then obviously sports job, and then the ear, so people then get to understand them visually and branding wise, they can understand, okay, Talk to Dan just post a sports job. I'm going to DM and apply for that. And when we're making a conversation with that young person, and that's how people kind of get to see it. Big improvement from a couple of years back, because it was just very, we didn't have a template. We didn't have a way of doing it. It's just sort of, this is the job, here it is. But people wouldn't know that that's what's getting posted out, No,
100%.
So yeah.
Yeah, man, no, thank you. We're going to get started with the first question.
Cool.
Which is all around, you mentioned that Talk to Dan very much about navigating through the media industry in this landscape. So, we've seen, you're doing incredible work helping young people to break into the media industry. Now, based on I think it's very important to sort of reflect on like the last year. Funnily enough, the day we're recording is after the Oscars, so I guess that's a nice little plug. But yeah, could you share some insights into the current landscape of the industry and how it's evolving, especially for young creators? Because we saw, last year there was the actors' strike, the writers' strike. We've seen a lot of changes, and with this whole discussion of like use of technology and AI, especially when it comes to the creative industries. There's a lot of questions and concerns on how that is going to change into the future. So, essentially, what are some key insights into the current landscape of the industry, and how do you think it's evolving, especially for young creatives?
Yeah, I think the industry is changing very, very quickly. I've started to understand, the team started to understand, and people that we bring on board, the people of work experience start to understand that the way young creatives engage with content is different. It's either you're scrolling up, you're scrolling sideways, text has to be minimal. You have to be able to actually target your audience in the sense where they see this, they want to save the story, or they want to like it, or they want to send to you, as a DM. I think a lot of what we've seen recently is that in terms of even like tech and, how people are creating content, it's very fast paced. So like we realized that even right now, Millie, who's our comms assistant, who's joined us just last year, October, and actually was work experience before, and she's got really good experience in content creation, but she knows how to make content that is like out there, bang, let's get out there, let's kind of make it, target the audience we need to target, if it's a uni or college or a young person, for example. So that sort of content that you have to create through using Canva, CapCut, these are programs that, personally, when I was obviously starting to Talk to Dan, I never knew of. I never, when you start to bring more people on board, they start to introduce more online content, tech things that you should be using, right? And sort of how you should actually integrate this into the business, into systems, because a lot of times what you're seeing now is that people are just scheduling stuff. It's not done in real time. So I used to do things in real time where, maybe I have a post I'm going to post at 5:30, and then I'm there like on my phone and I'm going to post that, and it's like, there must be an easy way to do this. So when you schedule things and you plan it and stuff, that's how the tech's sort of evolving. So even like TikToks you can schedule now and all these sort of things. So as a business and as Talk to Dan and as just even a content creator, we're now seeing things are really moving quickly, and you need to be able to even tap into the peak times that your audience is, kind of, looking at your content. So I guess the whole landscape's changed in the sense where even content creators are seeing like, oh, okay, this person just posted this time and I should probably post something similar. But then again, it's all about algorithms. You need to kind of like tap into those sort of algorithms. I remember when we posted the story recently and we had about nearly 200 people view the story, and we were like, okay, we're going to try it that time again. And it wasn't 200 again. So maybe there was something that was happening, like an event's just happened, Oscars, or something's kind of like, people, I think people are doing is that people are seeing what's happening, even like maybe the Super Bowl, for example. And this is the best time to captivate people on their phones. So a lot of the landscape's changing through this thing here, like our phones, and people are controlled by that. So I think it's a thing where you need to know how young people, your audience, your target audience, are actually interacting with your content. And that's something that we're trying to study. Analytics, I'm not going to say I'm the most clued up about. I'm learning so much more and learning off even a web developer, learning off the girls. The girls are really in tune with like social media and stuff. I am as well, but I think, you know, they know, you know, they've taught themselves a lot of things, as I've given them sort of the wisdom that I can give, but then they've also gone away and taught themselves lots of things. So yeah, the landscape's changing a lot, man. I think obviously, you know, with AI, yeah, and lots of different things that's coming, you know, everything has to be digital. So even like the event we want to do in June this year, which obviously you know about Talk Time for Media Jobs, we want to even make it more digital. So like, you know, as much as we're using printed paper to show the briefs, we want to also, last year we used some QR codes, but we want to even make it a bit more different. So that's why we're going to get Marketing Work Experience this week to kind of look into that and think about how can we showcase this information of a live brief to young people with the current landscape that we're in. Young people want to walk in, they want to see it visually, they want to see like the live brief, kind of like this is the task you got to do for this company, but how can we make it even a bit more engaging? You know, it's visuals and that, but how can we make it more engaging where like, are there iPads involved? Are there, but all of these things you've got to think about, okay, we've got to get this person to fund this, we've got to get that company to back that, you know, that sort of thing. So yeah, it's changed a lot, man, over the past year. And I also remember like kind of going back in the past year when there was COVID and stuff, and, you know, like government saying that, oh, the creative industries is dead and go work in Tesco's. Now, nothing against anyone that works in Tesco's or Sainsbury's, or, you know, I've done retail before, and, you know, you learn, you take skills from that and you make it transferable. But I think for when the government were like, oh yeah, you know, let's just stop the whole creative industries, that's bonkers, man. Because if you think about it, if you walk into Tesco's right now, you walk into Sainsbury's, what do you see? You see branding.
You see branding.
And you need content creators. You need content creators in this world.
100%.
Everything you pass by is content creation, if you think about it. Even if you look around this room, the logo behind you, Transmission Roundhouse, everything just behind it. You know, someone's obviously had to, you know, design that, the text behind that, the typography. So, you know, when they said that, I was just like, nah, they must be joking, because you're going to put all content creators in one different sector that they're not going to fully be able to express how good they are, you know. So yeah, that's sort of my answer to the question. Sort of long-winded, but yeah.
No, thank you. And I definitely agree. I think it's, you know, as you mentioned, like with how people's perception of the creative industries has, like in previous years has been, you know, it's definitely changed from what people thought, like what creative industries was. Because I know, you know, as a part of Roundhouse Works, they sometimes do workshops with Creative Mentor Network, and they did one on like it was all about like getting a mentor and like connecting the two sort of like cohorts of like the two groups. But they did a question on like, okay, so name what's in the creative industries. And they had like this really cool thing, this diagram, and if I can find a picture of it, I'll include it in the video. But it was just like, yeah, look at all these things. Like you've got like tech, you've got like you said, like marketing, like branding, all of this stuff is under the creative industries. But when you think of creative industries, you might be just thinking like, oh yeah, you know, like music production, video production, what it used to be. And I think, as you said, like as it's been evolving, there's a lot more like of that digitalization, there's a lot more of that tech involved, and that's shaping where it's going to go in the future.
Of course. Yeah, lots of different things like face recognition, you know, all this sort of stuff. When you go into even like when you even now order in restaurants, how do they get you to order? They don't want you to come. They don't want you to use the menu. They want you to scan this QR code, order, use it for your phone. What table? You table 23. So things are changing really quickly to the point where it's sort of like things slowly will become automated. Which is, it's a good and a bad thing in a sense where, like, obviously with automation, you know, people, depending on your role, some things, they may not need a certain person in that role. But then obviously with certain things, you obviously need to be in that specific role. So I guess it's just like, you have to play it by ear and see what works the best. But 100%. Automation's there, so you know.
No, I agree, man.
Yeah.
I think one thing before we go into the next question is you've been speaking about your team a lot.
Yeah.
And I was going to say, I think it's very important to touch on this because we've had different people on. We've had some people who are solo founders. We've had some people who maybe they're a part of a team, but the idea wasn't theirs. And we have people like yourself where they have a team, the business is theirs. And I would like to ask you, as someone who's also got a bit of a team that helps them out, is one, how did you find your how did you find your team? Because I think that's one of the things that I know from like other people that run businesses. They always say it's the hardest thing is finding. It's not only finding talent; it's finding the right talent. Because you can find a lot of talent. They might not be the right people for you. But how did you find the right talent for Talk to Dan?
Yeah, it's not like a an easy answer to give you, but I would say this one thing that I did do. I always kept relationships close, if that makes sense. So I was always building rapport with people. So right now, you have Millie and Nicole on the team. Nicole, I've known her for a very long time. She worked with me on our documentary, on a documentary that I'd done, which was on Can We Eat Healthier for Less, right? And that was sort of a sequel to Is Fast Food Killing British Youth? So when I went to university, I'd done that documentary, done a sequel. And she came in and I was like, this girl's really got some talent on her, man. So she basically really focused on like one, scene of that short documentary, which was about the psychologist. And she kind of, what she'd done, she kind of like, it's like, say you go into a documentary and you kind of like break it apart and you're saying, you could use this bit, but you can have it as little chunks. So we had a psychologist in that documentary where we wanted to use his information, but she said, why don't you have him as like a talking head, someone that just comes in, and he's able to give you like the information slowly but surely throughout the whole documentary. And then when it actually happened, I was like, that made so much sense. Like sometimes you need that second eye. So Nicole worked on certain things. So she worked on my documentary. She also helped at previous Talk to Dan events. And then what I'd done, I was like, I always said to myself, I've found the team through Talk to Dan. What that basically means is that there's people that I've met across and through Talk to Dan where we've worked together on a few things. And then I said, you know what? When the time is right, I will approach these people, right? And because I think they're the right person, their characteristics, their work ethic, the way they approach things, the way they face challenges. And I said, I will approach them with a certain, idea of what the role would be and what they would be doing. So Nicole was that person, and I said to myself, like Nicole's work ethic is crazy, man. She is, even over the years, she's been for 2 years now. She's grown. Like she was someone that had little to no experience. What I mean by that is that she wasn't like, she's come off a media degree and stuff like that. But if you work with Nicole, you will see that she loves what she's doing. And that's what, I think that's what you need to find. Someone that loves what they're doing, someone that actually is willing to go that extra mile for you. I mean, I remember last week, not last week, I think the week before, set a workspace, and I didn't expect her to give me what she gave me. And I was like, and she just went above and beyond. And I think that's the thing, when someone really likes what they're doing, they kind of show that in their work, and then someone will follow suit. So like with Millie, she came on as work experience, and I was like, this girl's very mature for her age. Like she's in like college. She's studying content creation and production as well. And she's doing a bit of radio, a bit of like content creation, TV, stuff like that. But she's really someone that I said, you know what? Very professional. She wants to just learn, ask questions, understand what's being done. But also it's just her mannerisms, like I think it's just the whole thing of like, this is someone that I can put in a room and I know that she's able to just, say if we have a meeting, she's able to note take and really take away that information and be like, Dan, you know what, this is what I got from this and this is what I think we can really do, for example. So I think it's just looking at the strong points, man. Like they both came from Talk to Dan and just building that rapport with them. And I'm blessed to have met them because I think like, and I just want to see where the future goes with both of them, Nicole and Millie. I spoke to you about Max, obviously. He was a very big part of Talk to Dan and still is, even though he's not with us permanently. He, checks in all the time. We catch up. And that's someone that, I really respect, man. Max is, I put him on a pedestal here, man. So when he sees this, he's going to be like, oh, Dan, like, but I think like he is someone that is so humble and had all the time in the world for the business. And I think obviously even with what he was doing like comms and marketing. So he was doing about like with a twofold role. Yeah. So even that was like a lot for him, but he made it work. But I could see obviously marketing was more his thing, and you learn from those things. But yeah, in terms of like just the team, just to make it short, I'm brief and short, it all came from people that I've met through Talk to Dan. And then I kind of like just, what I done, I said, you know what? When the time is right, and what that means is that when I'm able to actually like get people on board in the team, I should start paying them for what they do. But these are people that were generally wanted to help. Like they helped events. It could be different ideas, and you know they actually wanted to generally like see the business grow. And then when the time was right, I was like, okay, this is what I've got for you. This is a contract. This is what it will be. Let's discuss the working days. Does this work for you, etc., etc. So, yeah, I'm really around like people that have a really good work ethic. They have a willingness to learn, and most importantly, their values. Like it's just even like just looking outside of Talk to Dan, what they do outside of work. You know, are they someone that you know that they'd go to the gym? They do just so like-minded people. You know, all these sort of things, and I think that's really important for me. You know, like you have to have people that are like-minded and really want to be able to grow with you. And just see the vision. Like I've put out things that are I'm a bit ambitious on things, but I think when you see it coming from up down, people start to understand. Okay, this is what Dan wants to achieve. Let's work towards that. And even like with Nicole, she's moved up the ranks. She started as comms assistant. Then she's moved up to like she's now team leader. You know, so she's kind of like slowly grown, and now she's managing Millie, you know, and the work experience that come on board, and she has that leader role. I see her as a leader, you know, and someone that can really. I went away last week, you know, on holiday, and she was able to like just manage that. That's the thing. You want to be able to build leaders because you want to step down and work on other things that need to really be worked on, and then that she's able to be there and just kind of like, you know, and you know, look, like I think, yeah, just wrapping up there and the team thing. Both of them are really They just want to kind of grow and learn, man. I think that's the big thing for me, you know? Yeah.
No, that's really important. And I think it's really great to hear that, like, you give them that space to do that, because not, like, from people that I know that have done, like, work experience and stuff, like, they don't always get those opportunities. But even, like you mentioned, like, these weren't people, and I think that's the key thing. Before we go on to the next question, is you gave them. There weren't people that you necessarily, you know, you put out like a job application and all this stuff. These were people that you knew, and then they helped you out a bit with the business, and then you're just like, hey, look, I think it's time to think about how we could maybe involve you a bit more. And I think for a lot of like founders, they feel like no, you have to do it the opposite way of like post a job on LinkedIn, pay to get it like pushed out there, contact, and it's just like no. Think about your network. Think about people that you can work with. Yeah,
the only thing we posted was the work experience. So Talk to Dan work experience was posted, and then that's how Millie found out about it. So we posted that on our Instagram, our Twitter. But I've like I have recruited once through Talk to Dan, where I've posted out on various things and then tried to find people, but then that didn't work out too well. But yeah, like I said with Nicole. It was a thing where, you know, again, we built a rapport, and I felt she was the right person to come on board. She was someone that I always saw that, you know what, I can work with this girl. Like this girl is someone that is, you can tell she wants to grow. She wants to grow. She doesn't, like, you can tell if you meet someone that's stagnant, and you can tell if you meet someone that actually just wants to actually just keep pushing and seeing what the next challenge can be. You know, because I've said to her, like, you know, now you're comms leader, and it's a different step to where, you know, you're creating workspaces, you're making those informed decisions, you're delegating, you know, all those sort of things. So, and deciding what people have to do for work, you know, all these, and obviously in addition doing all the other comms stuff that you do. So yeah, you know, I think obviously that's you know, the team has just formed into something great, and I really believe in our team and what we have right now, you know.
That's perfect, man. Yeah. That's perfect. All right. We're going to go on to the next question, which is all about the job events that you guys run. So it's a fantastic initiative, you know, bridging the gap between employers and young creatives. Could you share a success story or a particularly inspiring moment from one of these events that stood out to you?
Yeah. Cool. I'd say the success story for us was where we met a young person that, you know, he's come from Reading. He's come from Reading? Yeah. So Tarek. The reason why I bring up Tarek is because this guy's full of energy, man. Like, he's come to one of our CV workshops. he's a joy to work with. I think he's going to really go far in his career. And such a breath of fresh air, that guy. You know, he's really genuine. And I think like at the event, you could tell how much impacts the first event had on him. So the Camden Open Air Gallery's already done the first event.
Okay.
And the success story for me really from there is that he took away that event where he said, look, I was able to be in a room full of different partners. We had BBC Sport there, Roundhouse, we had Eric. You know, we had some really cool partners there that, you know, it's like, well, have all these companies in one room. People are like, wow, this is amazing. Like, how have you managed to do this? And for him, it was the whole thing of being exposed to those companies, being able to connect with the talent managers online on LinkedIn. And then also he talks about Linktree, you know, so you learn something new every day. Because, I mean, like I've heard of Linktree, but then even when a young person comes to, Linktree, I'm like, no, we're using Linktree, you know. So I think for the success story really is that he's able to get exposed to companies that, and just people. He's built a network. So he managed to connect with the talent manager at BBC Sport and other companies and work on a BBC Sport live brief.
Wow.
So that's really big. And I think the success story overall is that young people have managed to actually come to this event and work on live briefs with household names, you know.
100%.
Roundhouse, BBC Sport, you know, Now TV was there as well, you know, so Game of Thrones stuff, if you're a Game of Thrones fan. So stuff like that makes me smile in a sense where we've done everything we can. We've done our job, but we've put young people in a position to even get the experience that they need to get to that next step of their career. Getting that insight day at Talk Time for Media Jobs allows them to at least go away and be like, I learned how to pitch to X company. I can put it on my CV now. So when I go for interview, I can say, okay, so Talk to Sam does this and I done this and I was able to like actually work on a project and an idea, etc. So yeah, I think that is even the highlight in itself, you know, and even seeing young people being like, I never knew that I could speak to, you know, we had Sony Music there as well. So I never knew that we could even get a chance to even speak to the talent manager at Sony Music. These are people that are looking at the application. So like, just imagine you're doing an application right now for Sony Music. Charlotte Tyndall, who was, you know, one of the talent managers, right? She's there. And you're able to talk to her about, you know, the brief and applications and just get like a lowdown on things. And people, that's the thing, people don't get that. That's why we're bridging the gap, you know, between that creative and the employer. So, and that's what we're trying to do every year. We're doing it once right now, but I want to push it to twice a year. Okay. And I do want to push it to 3 times to kind of like even push it up to the Northwest region, so Manchester. Nice. That is one of the biggest aims that I'm trying to look at, you know. We're talking to UCFB, who are you know, one of the college's football business, university campus football business, that we are able to, they have basically a campus in Manchester. So we want to work with them to actually kind of build our program there as well. And then get Media City on it. Media City, we like something there. We want to definitely get to that spot there as well. So yeah, you know, that's where we are really.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah, no, thank you so much. And I think that's really good. And I look forward to seeing the 3 events a year. Because I think generally, like we said, like how many, I think for a lot of young people, how many of them can turn around, as you mentioned, said like they're working on briefs that these big household names are doing. And I think even like people do forget, not even just like a, you know, having, I don't know, like the name that like you maybe were in the same room as, I guess I was thinking about it backwards. Not even saying like you worked on a brief, but even you're in the same room as like people who work at Sky, at Roundhouse, you know, all these like different organizations. To be able to say that and to be like, yeah, like I met these people. Sometimes even just that sentence is so much more fulfilling than even like, I don't know, like, oh yeah, you know, like I just attended like an event that they hosted and they were just in the room. Like, no, you attended an event where you got to connect with these people on a one-to-one, which is so important. Yeah, it's a confidence booster as well. There's a lot of young people that came in that first year event at Camden Open Air Gallery where they were like, wow, there's like Sony here, BBC Sport, Roundhouse. Like, there's so many different companies here. And for them, it's like, okay, this is the first time I'm getting in the industry. I'm from grassroots, you know, I'm sort of like just starting out. And it's like, how do I even approach
these companies. Now we do like a pre-networking event that actually helps young people to actually know how to network with these employers. Okay. That really helps them. So kind of they get prepared for when the real day comes, the big day, So that's something that we done in the second year round. So we realized that we had to do that and we had to kind of like put that in there. And that really helped a lot of young people that needed that pre-networking tips, what to expect on the live briefs, all those sort of things. Because at the end of the day, every young person is coming from, they have a different story. They're coming from different backgrounds. Everyone's sort of just trying to get to a certain place in a sense where there could be something that they're struggling with, but they don't know how to overcome that. 100%. So as us as a team, being relatable, being able to run those pre-networking, events helps that young person to then go into that big day where we run the talk time for media jobs and actually be like, okay, here's the brief, here's how you network with employers, and then they feel ready and just go straight into it. Perfect. Because, different personalities in the room, so you can't expect every single young person to be like, oh yeah, we've got X company and this company. Like we want to get, there's other brands where we're speaking to this year. Like I randomly bumped into, and talking about Roundhouse and the events that we do with them. I randomly bumped into a girl that works at Mixtape Madness. Wow. And we want to get Mixtape Madness at the event this year. And we're slowly speaking to them, to the team to talk to them about talk time for media jobs because that's something that they would really value that, and I want companies to understand that this is something that you'd value and see the big outcome out of it. You're tapping into young creators from all walks of life, different sectors of the media industry, being able to recruit them, connect, advertise your jobs, and work on live briefs. And it's just being able to actually, because this is the companies are looking for these young people. How do you do it? This is how you do it, This is ideally what we've created is a modern day careers fair, but even better because it's actually, it allows young people to become more interactive, more, kind of get involved, get engaged, as opposed to just being, they go to a desk and then they receive like a leaflet or something called This Is This. They get to understand what it's like to work at Sony Music. What is it like to work at BBC Sport? What is it like to work at Mixtape Madness, And that's what I want young people to get that experience. Yeah,
man, thank you so much. We're going to go on to the next one, which I think sort of builds on this. So your focus on having soft skills and employability skills is very crucial, especially in this day and age where you have to sort of have, as we sort of alluded to before, this idea of like transferable skills. So in your experience, what soft skills do you find are most often underestimated but can have a huge impact on a young creative's journey in the media industry?
Okay. I think there's two big ones, I'd say. Networking and following up. One thing that I wouldn't say I was great at it. I kind of learned how to become good at it. Networking. Very scared of it. Fearful. I didn't really like the word networking. And I think what I was doing when going to different events, so you can be this can be a room, and what can happen obviously is that I'd go in that room, you see lots of people, you don't know how to approach that person. That's the problem. So the networking thing is something that every single young person needs to they need to grasp it. Like if you can learn how to network, I guarantee you will get to a whole different level of your career. So we teach these networking questions to these young people, that they need to understand and how they need to actually approach these employers. And then the follow-up side of things. So obviously, like I said, I'd pick up all these business cards, or I would then, pick up these LinkedIns and say, okay, I've got like 10 business cards. Like, I've done it. Like I've done the best networking. But then actually I'm like, how do I follow up? What do I do with this? It's not quantity, it's about quality.
100%.
People are forgettable, and this is the thing. Once you get all those contacts, what are you going to do next with that contact? So we teach young people all these questions and stuff, and the things that they need to understand when it comes to networking. So instead of you saying what do, you want to talk to a contact and say, how did you get into your field? It's more open. It's more, there's a story to tell there. So if someone asks me, how did I get into my field? The first thing I'm talking to them about, not because I want to bore them with it, but it's Harry Potter. That's where I actually started. That is where it all started from. And that's where we come back to the CV stuff we're talking about. How do you talk about that in your CV? Where the passion started? How did I get into my field? Well, I was pretty curious about all the behind the scenes stuff and, the camera, the shots, the angles and movements, from editing to, everything in between with like post-production to pre-production, right? So I talk about these things on my CV, but then also it's how you actually talk about these things when going out there. Because these are questions that people want to know. Have you got any exciting projects coming up? Instead of just saying, what's your role? And it's very closed. So have you got any exciting projects coming up? Actually, what it actually does to that person, if I ask you that question, you then say, actually, no, well, I'll be honest, I haven't actually got nothing coming up, but I may have this that's coming up in the future. Or you might say, but there's something I want to work on. Do you know someone that maybe is a graphic designer? And now what you've just done, you've matchmaked. So being a matchmaker as well is a big thing in networking. So networking and following up, 2 big key skills, I'd say. If you can nail those two, it's really simple to get to that next level when it comes to the creative industry, because like we've got like a log, like we log everything. I'm talking like Google Docs, however you want to do it. Like there's a log, so we're talking to this person, we're logging the date. You got to be so diligent, like so like meticulous, like just everything you do. So like a log, like I've spoke to this person from this company, and I've taught the girls this as well. Like they love it, they love the log, like and they understand that this is how we operate, this is how we do it. Because if you don't log, I've logged yourself in our log, because it's like, and I know we've been meaning to set this up for quite a while, but even just checking in and like, okay, I need to follow up on the work log and check in with Jeffrey and see when we're going to do the podcast or so all those things are practices that stay with you, and obviously you then need to get to that next level, because you need to know how to be like all that stuff, the network and the follow up. It teaches you how to be organized and just thorough with certain things, So networking, follow up. If you can nail those 2,
sorted.
Yeah. Ideally, I believe so. I really believe so, man. Yeah.
Oh, I really appreciate that, man. And I definitely agree. I think even, like, I'd say, like you mentioned, like, not just for young people, like, there are people through my current job that I know that, like you said, like, networking is something that they don't necessarily feel the most confident on. Or even, like, there was someone I was having a conversation with where he was saying there's a tendency for people, when they're networking, they don't see it as like, oh, I want to just build up the connection. I want to get to know I want to get, like you said, like get to know you. So then we can see if there's any opportunities to work together. It's like, I'm coming straight in for a hard sale. So like, if I see that you're an angel investor, instead of like you said, like, oh, like I saw you're an angel investor, like are you in like, I don't know, trying to start a conversation of like, how did the passion for being an angel investor come from or stuff like that? It'll be like, oh, well, actually, my business needs this. I need this kind of money. I need this kind of space. Can you offer this to me? And I think, as you mentioned, is that when you allow the other person to open up to sort of like express their passions, how they got into this space and all of these things, funnily enough, I was thinking about it on the way here that like a lot of people forget, but it's what people forget what you say to them, but they'll always remember how you made them feel. And I think, as you mentioned, you mentioned with your question, like the way that you teach people to network is with that, the person might be like, oh, hey, I don't remember what so-and-so was exactly saying, but I know like when we were talking, I felt like I was being listened to. I felt like they genuinely wanted to know more about me as a person rather than like to get me as a client or a partner or whatever. And for the person, they're more likely to be like, well, hey, yeah, I want to work with you. I want to support you because actually I'm interested in you as you're interested in me as a person and I'm interested in you as a person. And we're not seeing like money signs or like, oh, this is going to mean that I'm going to be on a bigger platform. No, it's solely focused on building that core connection, which I think a lot of people do forget.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest things you got to understand is that there are people that I've built some really good like relationships with, man. Like good rapport. Like I'm talking like even I could call them just contacts, mentors, like people that have really helped along the way. I always say you can't do it by yourself. I've been running Talk to Dan since 2017, so it's 8 years now. And I look at it, I'm like, it's been 8 years, that's kind of long. But I always say this, there are people along the way that you will meet and you'll connect with that were supposed to be part of that journey. So I've got like, and I'm not gonna like run you through the whole list, but I'll make it really like brief. Like, so like Aaron, right? He's a public speaker and he taught me everything to do public speaking. As much as obviously I Also dabbled in other different events as well, public speaking, but he is like a wizard when it comes to public speaking. Like, and I didn't, this is the first 6 months of Talk to Dan. Like I had to understand how to public speak, and I met him through an app called Shaper. Like this is going back. And then like Mark, who I worked with at Sky. I was always, and this is talking about networking, funny enough, I always used to just eavesdrop on his work. He didn't, like, imagine I'd be behind you and I'd walk past behind you and I look like, this guy's doing some really cool stuff. I don't know how to connect with him though. Like he was a graphic designer at Sky, but I didn't know how to kind of have a leading conversation with him. So I was just like, I need to have that leading conversation before one day I walk and he's not there and I'm like, he might be in a meeting, he might be he's on the way on holiday. So, and he designed all this, my brother drew out the logo and stuff, right? My brother's a wizard, man. That's what I have to say. When it comes to the art thing, wizard. Like he knows what he's doing. But Mark, he designs this, so done the graphic design, my brother drew it out. So again, and there's Joe. Joe's like, I love Joe to bits, man. Joe is so amazing, always have time for me. And he's someone that I've known from Liberty, So again, there's just a whole list of people, right, along the way. But I think obviously, with that said, those are people that have your back. They really generally can see what you're doing. And I think a lot of it is to do with like patience, There's 100%. People that have been along the way and they're part of your journey and they will stick to what you're like. They'll be like, they know that and they believe that as long as you're consistent and you stick to it, it will go places. It will get to where you want it to be, Yeah.
Oh man, 100%. Thank you for that. We're gonna go on to the next question, which is, we spoke about CVs, we spoke about the workshops that you do. So we're going to be talking about the Dan Approved program,
okay,
which is CV workshops for young creatives, and it's a great way to prepare them for getting into the working world. Again, can you highlight a success story or a moment where someone's transformation through the program made a notable difference in their career?
Yeah, there's been a couple of success stories already with Dan Approved. We've had some young people that have already got into jobs. So we have Macy, who got into a marketing job. She's a makeup artist, but she managed to come to our online session and she used our template and she applied for the role, and then that's the first job that she got out of coming from the Dan Approved workshop. We have Evie managed to get an interview, so she does like illustration, so she has some really cool stuff. Definitely check her out. Evie has a really cool Etsy account, and we've had like a few people that have really like, we have Valeria as well. Valeria landed the interview as well. So some people have landed the interview and some have got like jobs. And I think that what's really good about that is even just getting the interview. That's big itself. Like some people like, I haven't had an interview for like, and it's not, I haven't had an interview for like 6 months. It's the whole thing of like, I've actually got an interview. Like I actually make it to the next stage. Okay, I may not got the job, but I got the interview. Okay, I've got the job. So I think it's just that recognition of like, I am good enough. Because a lot of young people beat themselves up, and I've had those conversations, those emails where like, oh, Dan, it's not working, or and it's just in general, like people just emailed even before, this is before they've even joined Dan Approved and stuff. But oh, Dan, like I'm not motivated right now, and mental health plays a big part in this, man. Like everyone's going through what they're going through, but like I just don't feel like I'm, the creative I used to be, or I'm not creating content that I love anymore and stuff like that. So sometimes what it is, and I'll tell young people, step out of it for a second and really remember why you started. I always kind of do that myself as well. Remember why I started, like why I'm doing what I'm doing, because it can be a lot. When I went away on holiday last week, allow me to refresh myself, enjoy myself, take myself away from Talk to Dan for a second, but then also look at like, okay, when I'm back, it's back to business, it's back to the grind. Slowly get back into it, but like, what do you really want to achieve for Talk to Dan? What do you really want to get? Where do you want to go? What's the next steps? And I think that's the big thing. And those success stories, just seeing when I see like, oh, Dan, I just got an interview, or Dan, I've just got the job, and it's like, and people put like Google reviews and stuff. That's amazing. It goes to show that what we wanted to create from October last year, which we started Dan Approved in October last year, is working for young people. There's impact. People are getting jobs, interviews. People are feeling more confident about their CV. And big up to Max. Max came up with Dan Approved in 2021. Wow. People may think Dan Approved was just something that we just created last year. No, Dan Approved was created in 2021 when he joined. And then he explained what the idea was and what it would be to ensure that these are young people that are going to be dependable. They're going to be, highly recommendable within the creative industry and someone that you can put forward for different job opportunities. And I was like, Dan Approved, I was like, I love the name. Like, it's really good. And he's seeing it now. He's seeing it. And we've met up recently. He took me off some pie and mash, some good pie and mash. I can't lie, I could do some pie and mash now. Good pie and mash, man. Like, oh man, it was good. But it was just like, wow, like to see that idea that he's put together, to see it come to life. And sometimes these things takes time, because I said to myself, cool, Dan Approved is here. He's come and given the idea and stuff like that. But then it's like, when's the right time to really push this? This was the right time. So nothing's a rush. And like, obviously you can see that young people are getting impact from it. So I think it's just a matter of, we had this idea and then bang, here you go. We're continuing to do it. We have an event this Thursday. We have an event the Thursday after that. And then obviously April goes on, May, June, etc. So yeah, and people are really tapping in, and we're using our partner apps like Eric, Creative Portal, Creative Lives in Progress, Slenky, to push this event out, to push the workshop out, and obviously our socials and stuff. And we're meeting a lot of young people from walks of life. Like it's like, oh, where are you coming from? Oh, I'm from Manchester. I'm like, okay, I'm from Liverpool. Okay. Like, but it's great because that's what we want to do. We want to tap into, and this is all data you're collecting with all these young people. And now when you start to get jobs in Manchester, Liverpool, all these places, you have Dan Approved young people. Someone that's sat in, come to our event, actually done their CV, and we'll highly recommend them, because that's someone that actually genuinely wanted to invest in us. And again, Dan Approved is donate what you can. So again, young people can donate as little as £1 to attend these events. And yeah, it's really working well. It's really working well. Like there's mentoring involved and stuff like that. So can't complain. Yeah, it's really
that's
good.
incredible. That's incredible. Yeah. And yeah, I'm glad to see, as you mentioned, both with the job events, but also with this, like you've seen the success stories and how people have grown. Yeah. It comes to the last question, which is one of the, this is the final initiative we're going to talk about before we end the episode, which is the Talk to Dan on the go.
Okay.
Offering tailored advice on the fly. The idea is really intriguing. It's really interesting. Now, I guess for this, could you share a unique or unexpected piece of advice you provided through this initiative that's had a positive impact on a young person's career decisions?
Okay. So Talk to Dan Go was actually something that we started last year. Something that I could see that we needed, and something that I could see that would really pick up really well. I think in a sense where we go back to when we were first talking about how the landscape's changed, information, how people actually take information, how they listen to information. So we wanted to create something that's on the go, something that obviously young people are able to listen to, and then sort of like, swipe up, and then like they've listened to that, for example. We've put out like lots of different advice. So like stuff on like freelancing, how to become a runner, starting out in the industry, for example. But we spoke about freelancing. And that one there, I think really hit here. Like when I ran that session there, a lot of young people were like, wow, that's some good stuff. So basically that session was all about how to start as a freelancer, like what to look out for, things you should like think about, and we talked about like, like knowing your trade. So like think about what you consume, think about, are you practical, are you theoretical? So basically meaning that, you could be someone that's into TV, you're going to be a freelancer, but then you don't know what role you want to kind of get into. So I will say start with, are you practical? Are you theoretical? If you're practical, you probably want to be hands-on, get on that camera there and, use camera. If you're theoretical, you probably want to be doing stuff like managing the finances, the budgets, booking in guests, so you're more of a coordinator, and obviously there you're being more of a cameraman, being on set. So stuff like that has really helped in a sense where, when you're on cam, when you're obviously doing that, or you're doing that, you start to understand, like, practical, theoretical. So the freelance stuff, going back to that, is a lot of people have taken away some good information from that, and they've dropped DMs or they've emailed and said, Dan, that was really good. I took some really good notes. And you don't know really what's happening behind the screen because you're doing this on Instagram Live, so you don't really know what's kind of going on until you come off it or someone's commenting. So, yeah, for us, it's sort of like people have taken away key information and been like, that's really impacted me. I've learned something new from this session that I can now take away and use it in, you know, in my creative journey, you know. And I think that's what's really important for the young creators, where the general tailored advice on the go allows us to connect and relate to young people going through all those pain points within the industry, within media. So it could be like someone's just about to start an internship. How do I make my best first impression on internship? And I'll talk about that on the go, right? And then make it a montage. A monologue. Sorry, I do a monologue. And you know, like kind of talk about that, and then get young people to come in and we discuss that. We discuss about, you know, like trying to start out your first internship, because you know, you could be 16, you could be 17, you're about to start your first apprenticeship internship, but then you're like, I'm going somewhere big or even somewhere small. I don't even know how to start this. This is scary. Like, I'm about to just do a work experience. I remember when I was doing my first work experience, one of my first work experiences at Channel 4 for a week, and I was like, okay, I'm going to go Channel 4 for a week. I don't know what to expect. No one showed me the ropes or nothing. I just had to kind of go in there and just, you know, try to give my best first impression, right? And that's exactly what I'd done. I was always just sort of demonstrating initiative and taking it to that next level, you know, like, so I think all those tailored advice that we're given is helping young people navigate in the industry. And again, yeah, Talk Down in the Go, we want to build it into a podcast. So it's even what I was speaking to you about before we got on the podcast is like, being able to even like utilize different places and services and kind of like have equipment and all that sort of stuff allows us to kind of then put out that information so that young people are getting that information on a weekly basis and they can tap into all this sort of all those tips. Yeah
100%, man. Thank you. I can see time is going, but I know I haven't asked it, so I'm gonna have to limit you to a minute to answer it, so we can make sure we wrap up and can go on time. But I don't think we actually discussed it. How did the idea of Talk to Dan come about? So I've got a minute on the clock. I'm gonna give you a minute. You got a minute, and when the minute's over, I'm gonna have to stop you.
That's cool.
Could we know, starting from now? Cool.
Talk to Dan started from personal experience. I was going through the different pain points that young people go through when it comes to breaking into the industry, and I saw a gap in the market. I said to myself, you know what? If I'm going to create something, I'm going to create it for young people, but also for companies. But be able to understand that young people are able to get into an industry where it's open, it's diverse, it's able to give opportunity to young people to get access into opportunities and allow them to overcome their personal experiences, basically meaning that they don't know how to network, they don't know how to write a CV, they don't know how to freelance, they don't know how to build online presence. I wanted to be, you know, the voice for the next generation and build a team around that to be able to get young people to understand exactly what they need to then become work ready to get into that opportunity to become, you know, the best creative that they can be and just to learn all those top tips that they can. So,
that's perfect, man. You literally, 1 second. You did it in a minute, man. You did it in a minute.
I wasn't counting.
But no, thank you so much. And yeah, we've come to the end of today's episode. Before we let you go, Dan, could we just know, so it's sort of like a two-way thing. One, where can people find out more information? But also, if you've got anything you want to share, any initiatives, this episode hopefully should come out within the next month. So we're currently recording in March. Hopefully within the next 2 weeks, this episode should come out. But yeah, any events you want people to look forward to long term, anything coming up quickly, just let us know. But also, how can they find out more about you?
So you can find us on Instagram, talk_to_Dan. Twitter is talk2Dan_. And if you just find us on Facebook, Talk to Dan. Events that are coming up, we have we have fortnightly events for our CV. So Dan approves CV workshops in person in Wembley. Online via Zoom. If you're looking to build your CV and actually improve your CV, you should definitely be there. We have Talk to Dan for media jobs, which is obviously what we spoke about earlier. Bridging the gap between employers and creators, which we'll hold in June. So make sure you're there because you'll meet like-minded creatives and also companies that you want to work for. And then Talk Down in the Go, we want to be able to be pushing that, sometime this year. I believe even sometime in the summer. So getting that general tailored advice for young people. to be able to tap into those pain points. So yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, definitely check out all those links. But yeah, we've come to the end of today's episode. Thank you very much, Dan, for coming on and speaking about your journey. Thank you to you, our wonderful audience. If you like this episode, like, comment, subscribe is always appreciated. If you want to make sure you don't miss any more episodes of the Hustle Chronicles or of any of the other podcasts we do on the Pick Up the Mic YouTube channel, please make sure you click the notification bell, which is at the bottom of the video. If you want to receive some perks, maybe you want to support the podcast as well, as I've mentioned, I'm currently wearing it, but it's a bit chilly, so I won't take it off. But I've got my Pick Up the Mic shirt on, and we will be selling some, releasing the merch very shortly. So if you do want to get some merch, please do check that out. But you can also be a Patreon member and get a reduced discount. You can also be a YouTube channel member. The links for both of those are down below, and you can find more information about what you get with those below. But finally, if you want to check out our other YouTube channels, as I mentioned, we have 3 other YouTube channels. So we have the Two Maesters, where we talk about all things sci-fi and fantasy and dive into different worlds. We have the Senseis of Anime, where we look at the world of anime with cosplayers, with anime event companies, all just discussing our passion for anime and why we love it. And finally, if you want to learn more about the world of gaming, particularly why diversity, equity, and inclusion is important within that space, please do check out Pick Up the Controller. All those YouTube channels you can find on our main channel right at the top. But yeah, we're going to close today's chapter of the Hustle Chronicles. Thank you again for coming back, and we will see you the next time when we interview another entrepreneur about another business, and most importantly, learn what it means to be an entrepreneur. So that's a bye from us here. Have a wonderful day.